Is tomorrow indeed going to be the day taking effect?
I mean, we don't know.
Still don't know.
Well, we've heard him muse about February 1st many times, but we saw him write in an executive order. April 1st is when he needed his reports back from his Commerce Secretary. I think he came up with February 1st when a Canadian reporter asked him in the Oval Office on Inauguration Day, hey, I didn't hear about it. And so
But he's indicated even yesterday, yes, it's Saturday, and that Commerce Secretary in his confirmation hearing said first phase now, second phase on April the 1st, so maybe even more to come. But the point of, I guess, of all of this is that we don't know.
We don't know. We heard Lutnick say we could get out of it, if the president was satisfied with the border plans. No, but they don't publish the list of what their satisfaction checklist. This is playing poker with Donald Trump. He will bet with a bad hand, and none of the rest of us are used to that.
And so you're preparing. Leaving this interview, heading into the meeting from the Prime Minister's Council on Canada-U.S. relations, U.S.-Canada relations. This will be potentially the final meeting before these take effect tomorrow. What is the plan today?
So I think we're going to have a thoughtful conversation about what we expect. Without betraying too many confidences, the scenario planning is quite robust. And I think we all expected a very serious chance that he was going to do it on Inauguration Day. So it's not like we're waiting to be ready when he does something. It's running through the list. What do we know? Updates from our contacts and networks. This is a interesting council. There's industry leaders, there's political leaders from all three parties, union stakeholders, people who have networks in Washington that they've been talking to, and throughout all the other capitals, state capitals that are important to us in the U.S. So we share notes, we share insights, we share scenarios, and it's what you might imagine it is. It's what can we do to help the country?
Okay. So if you were ready for the 20th, Inauguration Day, you've had a little bit of time then. Have you changed? Have you tweaked? Have you eliminated based on the latest comments from the president? Have you adjusted the plan?
I think what's important is that we've heard senators at hearings for the nominees, and then we've heard various nominees, and you get some inflections from what you hear there. Lutnick's was actually calm, I thought methodical, and for the first time we heard two-phase. Maybe he's actually tipping the president's hand. Maybe the president changes his hand. But the point is, that's new information. I think we've seen the global affairs minister go down and meet with Marco Rubio, and I think there's some interesting feedback there. All of these kind of inform how you go at it. We listened to Danielle Smith.
David McGuinty's there today, incidentally, looking at the changes to the border. Again, will that have any impact? Sorry, didn't mean to.
Yeah, well, you know what? On that one, we don't know. We don't know.
So it just makes it, I would think, so difficult in order to get exactly how to retaliate. I'm interested. I was speaking last hour with the mayor of Sarnia, Mike Bradley. I don't know if you heard that conversation. But he's been a mayor for a long time, so he was there last time in 2018, affected his border city. This time he's finding that his counterparts in U.S. border cities are afraid of Donald Trump. And they're not taking up Canada's arguments to the same degree this time as they have personally. That's a new challenge he's finding as he tries to get his perspective, and more border mayors try to get their perspectives heard. Is this an additional challenge that you're finding, that people are far more deferential to Donald Trump this time around?
He's flooded the zone with a whole bunch of stuff. Let's call it stuff. He's using executive orders to put congressional adversaries and allies on their heels, and he's doing that at the state level too. There's incursion there. He's declaring federal emergencies where he can use the office of the president to marshal resources and then get rid of federal staff that he, for whatever reason, he has a grievance with. So everybody's on their heels. Even in the auto business, when we talk to counterparts on the other side of the border and say, look, if I can't deliver seats from London, Ontario, you can't make a Jeep in Toledo, Ohio as of tomorrow. Perhaps this is a time for you to stand up for your interests, not ours. They're so aligned, it doesn't matter. I think what we're going to see is Americans are going to respond if we get to the other side of a tariff. And in our business, we saw the Ambassador Bridge close in February 2022, and for whatever reason, parts couldn't get on either side of the border. So you can't make a car without all the parts. So if that Jeep maker in Toledo, Ohio has to pay 25% for the $3 or $4 billion worth of Canadian goods that they put into that car every year. They're either going to have to accept it, pay for it, run at a loss, or decide maybe we shouldn't make that Jeep right now, and let's figure out if we're going to do a $3,000-$4,000 loss per car on 1,000 cars a day, shouldn't we go to court to get emergency relief against a tariff that's based on national security?
So you see that happening potentially in the U.S. I was going to ask you, put aside the council and your work on the council, but as president of the Automotive Parts Association, what are you hearing from your American counterparts in terms of their expectations and their concerns about the impact too? I mean, you've alluded to it there, but in more detail.
The auto business is math and science. There's no art. The only art is you designed a car and let's go. After that, these are highly engineered parts in very capital-intensive facilities where a part may cross the border 7 or 8 times before it ends up as a vehicle in a customer's hand. American raw material suppliers are worried that the volumes will go down or end. So steel producers in Pennsylvania, resin producers in Texas, major assemblies in the U.S. are wondering, well, who's going to pay the tariff when this stuff comes over? On this side, these are the same companies. That same company that makes Jeeps in Ohio makes minivans and sports cars in Windsor. Well, those get sold to Americans. So the worry there is, okay, well, are we absorbing a 25%, potential 25% increase? Will our dealers? If I'm a dealer for that company or any of the companies, I won't take delivery. And what we saw with the Ambassador Bridge and what we saw during the first wave of the pandemic, that parts couldn't get delivered, well, the industry shut down. The markets will react. The Dow Jones will react. We know that there are very few things that get Donald Trump's attention. And I think the market does. I think evangelicals do. I think in those states where those two intertwine, and by the way, you're not going to work, and the markets dropped because the president declared that pickup truck a national security issue, then you're going to do something about it, and we expect that.
Attention. Just before I let you go, one thing that we're also waiting for today is whether he's going to make an exemption for oil.
Yeah.
That we should find out, he said today. So oil, the #1 import from Canada to the United States, American import, and autos #2.
Yeah.
If oil gets an exemption, how do you feel about that? Are you okay with it?
Well, I think that Canada should have, the federal government and negotiating team should have every tool at their disposal. We're not asking for a carve-out. In automotive, anything you do in Ontario is going to be felt in Michigan within hours. Ohio, Indiana, you don't need a carve-out. What will happen is that Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, is going to be activated. She said a couple days ago, well, tariffs aren't necessarily that bad, but you have to see what their effect are. How do they affect jobs? How do they affect companies? How do they affect the general economy? I think she's signaling to everybody saying, look, I'm not going to fight him head on when we don't have an issue yet. But when it comes, I'm going to make an argument on Michigan jobs. So we don't need a carve-out. We've got the entire Midwest that's going to be in trouble.
Okay. Thank you so much. Please come back, because I'll be wondering what happens in your world as of Monday or as of Saturday afternoon or Sunday, and we'll talk more about what's happening in automotive for sure, given whatever events present. Thank you, Flavio Volpe, and you're watching CBC Morning Live.